So this movie's about 9/11.
Yeah.
And obviously 9/11, horrific thing. A lot can be said about that. Both of us were very young when it happened. We're not going to have too much
We were little
to be able to
babies.
talk about this. According to South Park, it takes 22 years and another third of a year before a tragedy can be joked about.
Mm-hmm.
That was December 2023, when it's 22 years and a third of a year away from
9/11.
9/11. So we can joke about this.
So we're in the clear, guys, okay?
Yes.
We don't want any hate mail saying we don't take 9/11 seriously because it's okay to joke about it now.
Yeah. Getting out here, we're not denying 9/11. We're not going to.
If we had covered this movie back in November, we're awful people.
Yes.
But now that it's February of 2024, totally fine.
All right. So apologies in advance, but also we are completely fine. They got nothing on
But
us.
also we did nothing wrong. Enjoy the show. Welcome, everybody, to the DCOM Duo podcast.
I'm Benji.
I'm Kelsey.
And today we're covering the DCOM Tiger Cruise, aka
9/11.
the 9/11 movie.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, 9/11 was a really bad terrorist attack.
Mm-hmm.
And Disney Channel decided a couple years after, I need to make a DCOM about this.
Yeah, but like not in New York because that would be way too much. We'll like just put them on a cruise
In a
and
military.
have them react to 9/11.
Yeah.
And pro-military.
Yeah. So I want to get this part out of the way. This is a hard movie for us to talk about, and I don't know how that's going to come across in terms of this being a podcast, just because the movie is bad, but not bad enough to the point where it's offensive or funny or easy, like interesting to talk about. It is bad, particularly in a lot of its like technical features.
Yeah.
The green screening in this movie is the worst I have ever seen in a movie.
It's horrible.
But we'll cover that in different moments. But like the emotional core of the film, there's something there, but it's not enough to keep you interested. But it's also not enough to be like bad comedically, is how I say it. So it's kind of a worst case scenario for this podcast. It is hard to talk about. Its subject matter is not a fun thing to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie overall isn't good. It doesn't make up for it by being like a good watch. But we still got some stuff we want to talk about it. And we're talking about every DCOM, and this is an important one to talk about.
I feel like this is not a movie a kid would be like, I want to watch Tiger Cruise again, you know?
I highly doubt it.
Like, not at all. I feel like this movie was made to show to classrooms.
That feels very accurate. I think Disney made this so parents could tell their kids about 9/11, which feels
they already
maybe
lived
too
through
close.
it.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If you are watching this film, you knew of 9/11. It's not like this was too close to the time period of it.
Yeah, it's not popular enough to be shown years later.
So ultimately, it just feels like a propaganda film.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get into politics on to this podcast. That is not at all what this is supposed to be about. But like the war on terror was in full swing. This is like post 9/11, 2004 is when this released.
Yeah.
I'll transition to the factos. This released in August 6th, 2004. It was a 50-second DCOM. So they had a lot of DCOMs before this, even though it very much feels like a breach from the format. And yeah, so 3 years after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that means we can't joke about this movie. This movie's a tragedy, right?
Why didn't they release it in September?
Probably because then they could show it for a full month before 9/11. And then still
on
have
9/11.
Yeah.
They did not air it every 9/11. Why not? They had a 9/11 movie in their pocket and they didn't advertise that
Maybe
shit.
at some point they realize, like, first off, a lot of this movie's not about 9/11, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot more overall thoughts on this movie than I do about any scene in particular. This movie, 50 minutes of its hour and a half runtime is entirely spent on stuff before 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And then the remaining 40 is after. And I feel like either don't make a 9/11 movie, or the most interesting aspect of the whole movie is like the moments after 9/11 when everyone's panicking and we're seeing out an art, like the Navy command works and tries to figure out what's going on, how to deal with all like the mismanaged resources. There's interest in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily the focus. It's all on this emotional core of the movie of a father, daughter, pair. I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like the best answer to this was this movie didn't need to be made. But
Yeah.
if I was making this movie, I would have done a bunch different script in terms of where I would have tried to focus the energy of this movie.
Yeah.
I think there's a good movie that could stand the test of time somewhere in this concept. I just don't think it's this.
It's like you could have had a movie about military families and their relationships without it being about 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And it just is about 9/11.
Yeah.
Also,
if you're
and
going
it's
to put
kind of
9/11 in your movie, it becomes the 9/11 movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a DCOM about 9/11. It's real, and we have to talk about it.
Yeah. So I already jumped to the factos, but actually, before that, we have fan mail.
Oh my goodness. Do you have it?
I do not have it pulled
I
up.
don't have it pulled up.
I can pull it up.
Yeah, reverse the factos for a second.
All right. Today's fan mail comes from my mom.
Oh my gosh, what?
Tammy. Yes. She says, "Hi, Kelsey and Ben. I enjoyed the last 2 episodes. It was super fun as a mom to listen to Ellie as your guest for Lemonade Mouth. It warmed my heart as I had memories of Ben and Ellie escaping together to the couch to watch Disney entertainment." Yeah, it's probably pretty fun to hear 2 of her kids on a podcast together. Ellie explained on the podcast that they had a rotation schedule for the remote control. We called this Kid of the Week and involved much more power in other areas such as seating in the car, who got the first pick of dessert, etc. I did this to protect the middle and youngest child from getting taken advantage of by the firstborn, while also empowering the youngest child. I was the youngest of 5, so it never got to pick what we watched. Yeah, I gotta say, as the baby of the family, I appreciated it. I got the power, and I still got the other baby like privileges. So, thank you, Mom. I've been wondering about your podcast goals. Who is your target audience? What is the target age range? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Target audience, just anyone who likes Disney Channel movies. In terms of an age, we don't really have a target age. I would say people around our age would probably be the most likely to listen.
Our age are probably a little older, just people. Yeah. I would say we're kind of nostalgia baiting, is in a way what we're doing.
Because we're watching all of the old ones.
We're watching all the old ones. We're watching ones. To me, the goal for doing this, first off, I don't really care if we get like no viewers. This is just kind of a fun project to do with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's how I feel it. But I also am really happy whenever a random episode for a not very popular DCOM, like let's say Can of Worms. Number one, we get show our experiences with Can of Worms, which is wild. But also, people who remember Can of Worms and maybe are trying to research about it, there's something for them to find that's someone talking about it, and they can hear people talk about it or like interact with it in some way.
Yeah. And every DCOM has got to have at least a fan, a kid that was like, yes, I remember that one.
And that's what we kind of want to provide, like something for that one fan. This is not going to be a podcast. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think this is a podcast that's going to get millions of listeners.
No.
But I'm cool with where it's at in terms of it's a passion project for us too. And beyond that, I'm hoping we can find people who are fans of the movies that maybe haven't thought about them in a while that care about it.
Yeah, I would just say this podcast isn't for kids.
Yes,
That's the only demographic I'm like,
we are talking about like kids movies, but
yeah,
at the same time, the vast majority of ones we're talking about are when we were kids or even when we were younger than kids, like
yeah,
when we were
yeah,
babies.
when we were babies.
So,
Like, we're watching these movies with an adult perspective.
yes,
I
a
mean,
young
yeah,
adult.
young adult perspective. Like, we're still young. Yeah, yeah. But like, we still enjoy these movies. They are made for kids, but we're watching them as adults. We're remembering the ones we watch as kids and also experiencing ones that we didn't watch as kids.
Mhm. And there's something that I think we both have just a fascination with not just like filmmaking, but like creation of projects that are not necessarily high budget.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we're always like interested in. And yeah, I think we're both just movie fans in general. And this is a fun way to talk about some bad movies because bad movies are fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Not
Except when
except
they're
for
about
this one.
9/11.
Yeah. There's probably a bad movie about 9/11 that's fun to talk about, but it's not Tiger Cruise.
Yeah. You want to get back into the
Yeah.
factos?
So, as I mentioned earlier in the Factos sneak peek section, this released August 6th, 2004. It was the 52nd DCOM.
Mm-hmm.
The director is Dwayne Dunham. That name should sound familiar because we have talked about him a lot already.
Dang.
He did Halloween Town.
The first one? Just the first one?
Just the first one. He did Double Teamed.
Uh-huh.
And he did Ready to Run.
Wow.
So this is his fourth that we're covering. He also did Right on Track and 13th Year.
So we'll see him twice again.
Yeah. There's other DCOM directors who have done a lot. It's just kind of weird that this is the guy we consistently keep getting.
Yeah, he did so many old ones, like early 2000s.
Yeah. He did not stick around to the modern era.
Yeah, what's his best movie?
Probably
Double Teams?
I was gonna say 13th Year.
13th Year isn't bad.
We're not Halloween Town fans.
No.
That's probably popularity wise.
You know what
definitely the one.
You know what all these have in common? They're a little boring.
They're all a little boring or a lot boring.
Yeah.
All of them, even the ones of those that we like.
Sorry, Dwayne.
Next, we can move on to the cast. So, playing our main character, Maddie Dolan, is Hayden Panettiere.
Snaps for Hayden.
Yes. She's pretty famous.
She's pretty big.
She's done a lot of stuff. She's known for the TV shows Hero and Nashville, where she's got big roles in both of those.
Yeah.
She's in the Scream franchise as Kirby Reed, which is like still popular to this day, and like she's signed on for the next movie and everything. She was in A Bug's Life.
Who is she in A Bug's Life?
She's Dot.
She's Dot?
Yeah.
That's cute.
In A Bug's Life, became the 5th youngest Grammy nominee of all time.
Huh.
Which I thought is interesting. Also relevant because the Grammys are Sunday. And by Sunday, I mean the day before this comes out.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah. She's also, of course, in Ice Princess.
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about Ice Princess for a second?
Go for it.
I love Ice Princess. This is like kind of like one of those movies where it's like, is that a DCOM? No, it's not a DCOM.
It's
you
one
can
of the
tell
DCOM vibes.
Yeah, but you can tell it definitely has a higher budget than a DCOM.
It's a similar thing to Sky High, where people always assume.
It's like it kind of has that vibe, and it would play on Disney Channel, but it was not a DCOM. But this movie was so good. And we watched it in our college house, but Benji wasn't there.
I was gone that day. Tragically.
It's so good. It's one of those childhood movies where it's like so cheesy, and it has the classic, no, mom, I'm giving up your dream, not my dream moment. Happens like twice, actually. It happens with both of the main girls. Like they're both like, no, it's always that's what you wanted. I'm doing what I wanted. It's so good. If you watched Ice Princess as a kid and you haven't rewatched it as an adult, go do it. It's
do
worth
that instead of watching Tiger Cruise.
Yeah.
She's also in Racing Stripes,
I watched that as a kid, but not as many fond memories of that one.
and then she was to direct to video sequels to Bring It On 3, and Hoodwink 2, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Playing the role of Commander Gary Dolan,
Her dad.
her dad, is Bill Pullman.
Mm-hmm.
He's the main role in Spaceball. Not Rick Moranis, because Rick Moranis probably is. He's Vader in that.
Yeah.
But he's the guy who's Luke Skywalker / Han Solo, because they combined him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the president in Independence Day. He's also got big roles in Casper and Sleepless in Seattle.
We haven't watched Sleepless in Seattle
We've
yet.
watched the other Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks rom-com.
Yeah, we watched You've Got Mail.
Yeah.
And we watched.
There's also like the volcano one, but no one talks about that.
Yeah, we also watched When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
So we're like kind of dipping into old rom-coms a bit, but we haven't watched Sleepless in Seattle yet.
Yeah. So got to do that.
Yeah.
But that's all I put down for him. For playing the role of Anthony was Nathaniel Lee Jr. He's done very few things. Like very uncredited minor background roles. Like one episode of Ned Declassified was the biggest thing I could find.
Nice.
So yeah, very little. This was probably his peak of his acting career. Similarly, playing Tina Torres was Bianca Collins. She had a decent sized role on the Nick show Unfabulous.
I used to watch that.
I have no idea about it. Do you remember her from that?
No.
Okay. That's all I could really find.
I don't remember a lot about Unfabulous, but I did watch it.
Playing the role of Joey, the cute little boy, is Jansen Panettiere. That is, yes, the brother of Hayden.
Wow. So they're related?
They're siblings, yes. He had voice roles in Blue's Clues, Racing Stripes, Robots, and Ice Age 2.
Does he just get roles his sisters in?
It looked like a decent amount of that, yes.
Dang.
Tragically, he died last year.
Aww.
He had some heart complications.
Dang, that's really sad.
He died very young, so can't joke about that. Mm-hmm. Playing the role of Chuck Horner is Troy Evans.
I'm sorry. Troy Evans? Troy Bolton married Sharpay Evans and took her last name?
Apparently, and then he got casted on ER and Bosch, which like main TV roles are there. Also had like various size roles in Ace Ventura, Teen Wolf, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Epic. Yeah, a lot of credits, nothing that huge.
Who is this guy in the movie?
He is the Marine Dad.
A Marine Dad, okay. I didn't know his name in the movie. I always called him Marine Dad.
Yeah.
He's like, I was in the Marines.
He is the most stereotypical boomer.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen in a DCOM.
For real.
Yeah.
He like almost says some racist shit. We'll talk about it.
He really does almost say some racist shit.
Yeah.
That's all the main characters that I wrote down. Mm-hmm. Then I checked everyone out, like all the other. Those are basically all the tigers.
Yeah, those are all the tigers that like have names, and
none of the major like the military members of the family.
None of them really did much.
Because
there's like Grace, and there's the son that's like the chef.
Yeah,
like they don't really do.
They were minimal at best, so I just decided I'm not going to cover them. They're not that big in the movie. No. The one person that does have a minor role in this movie that did have a very significant career was Jeanette McCurdy, who has like the first lines in the whole movie.
Yeah, she's in the like first scene, and then you never see her again. But I recognized her. I'm like, that's little Jeanette McCurdy.
I wrote a couple things down, but I'm gonna just let you take the Jeanette McCurdy.
I mean, she's most famously known for iCarly.
Yeah,
she played Sam. That was her huge breakout role. Pretty much the main point of her career. She was also in Sam and Cat after iCarly, but that's just the same character.
The same character.
Yeah. Mainly just rolls around Nickelodeon, and more recently she wrote a book called I'm Glad My Mom Died. It's like a memoir talking about her life growing up as a child actor and her relationship with her mom. Her mom died years ago, and she just talks about like how their relationship wasn't great.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to get into all the things in her book. I have read the book. It's very good.
I have not read the book, which is why I wanted to pass it off to you.
Yeah, I listened to the audiobook actually, which was Jeanette McCurdy reading it.
People raved about the book.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's considered very good. I know that much.
I do recommend reading it or listening to it. I think it's really good. She kind of quit acting because she never really wanted it.
Mhm.
You know, at least that's kind of the vibe I got from the book. That is just kind of the pressure to do it as a kid, which I feel like a lot of kid actors kind of go through that of like, do they really want to be an actor? Now they're like the main providers for their family. Like it's just complicated.
There's a very reasonable takes that I hear about like there needs to be way more protections on child actors.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they're getting into. But that's neither here nor there. On this podcast, we like to celebrate kid actors for giving performances and subjecting themselves to the system when they didn't really have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, all that to say is go Jeanette McCurdy.
Yeah. Shout out Jeanette McCurdy. We saw you at the beginning of this movie. I recognized you.
Abandoned for Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Yeah. She was in a Disney movie before she was in Nickelodeon. What?
All right. And then for some fun facts.
Ooh.
First off, this was filmed on aircraft carriers.
Wow.
This is going to explain why the majority of the movie looks terribly shot, because these are not stages that are designed well for.
They're not actually out in the middle of the ocean.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why they have to green screen everything up, and it's bad.
Yeah.
It was filmed on the USS John C. Stennis and the USS Nimitz. It was not filmed on the USS Constellation.
Is that a real carrier? A real ship? A Constellation?
The USS Constellation was a real ship.
Wow.
It got decommissioned in 2003, so before the movie even filmed, which is the main reason they didn't film on it.
Uh-huh.
It has since been fully scrapped, like finished getting scrapped in like 2016 because everything takes forever with something of that size. On that ship, like during 9/11, the Tigers really were on board.
Wow.
It's like a real true story in that aspect.
That's crazy. I'm sure none of the characters
None of the characters, I believe, are real.
But that's crazy that they did actually experience that.
This thing that I found was the air show that happens in the movie did not occur because that was actually scheduled to happen on 9/11 itself.
And then of course
they're not going to do an air show on 9/11 itself.
Yeah.
Other things to note, the scene where they goop up the whole kitchen and they have a fun dandy time. Apparently it took 3 months to clean to get back to naval health standards after in the kitchen after filming that.
What do you mean gooped up?
When they are like cooking in the kitchen and they're banging on pots and singing.
Did they throw food everywhere?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently it took 3 months of cleaning to get it back.
I thought it was mainly just banging on pots. But dang, that sucks for that kitchen. 3 months.
Now, it sounds according to one IMDb note. I don't know how much I trust it, but I said, sure, I'll put it in. That's interesting. I would
believe like a week. I think they were just procrastinating.
Finally, according to just again one IMDb note, didn't fact check this at all. This is one of 3 DCOMs to have a viewer discretion warning at the beginning. Can you name the other 2? As a hint, we have covered both of them.
Oh, both of them. I think Don't Look Under the Bed.
Yes, that one for having scary imagery.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll get the other one.
Viewer discretion? Was it like Prom Pact or something?
No.
Was it recent?
Again, I don't fully trust this. I wouldn't say it's recent.
Was it like Halloween Town?
Halloween Town was the third one. No.
Well, I like Halloween Town too.
No. The answer is Wendy Wu.
Oh, I think we talked about that. Maybe
it had a violence warning, which is weird because it doesn't feel violent at all.
They fight,
but like that's it.
And this one, it's like they're gonna talk about 9/11. Be warned, everyone. They don't really show anything graphic. I guess just imagery of the towers getting hit and like firefighters.
Yeah.
And weapons. I guess they show like missiles. And
They say
stuff.
they want it because it's talking about pretty tragic circumstances. They say
Yeah.
you want your family to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then I can read the Disney Plus description. And after that, we can Tiger Cruise into the movie.
That actually kind of works.
Yeah. Maddie Dolan is tired of being labeled a Navy brat and decides to convince her dad to give up his military career to stay home. He seizes the opportunity to petition him by participating in Operation Tiger, a week-long tour where sailors' families join them for operations aboard a ship. When Maddie's plan is interrupted by the events of September 11th, she sees firsthand the courage, honor, and commitment her father has not only for his country, but for her as well.
Wow.
I don't know if I agree with the moral of the movie or of the description, but like factually it's fine.
That's what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
She's like, I want you to come home. Just kidding. You ready to Tiger Cruise into the movie?
I think we are ready to look of the Irish into the movie.
Okay.
No, you don't like that one?
No,
I
it's
think
nothing
we're ready
to do
to
with
can
this.
of worms into the movie. I think
So
we're ready to Tiger Cruise into the movie.
good one. Okay. Ready? Go. So we open up on a city and it says Tiger Cruise. Wow,
That's the movie we're watching.
That's a Disney Channel original movie. And then
Whoa.
we see a military base and some soldiers and a naval air station and just tons of military shots as we get through the opening credits. And it's very triumphant music. This is a theme throughout the movie that they'll show you some military stuff and just super inspirational music is playing.
American patriotism has its heights are probably 1777 and 2002. You
and
know,
I'm proud to be an American.
So this is a 2004 movie, so it is very close to peak patriotism in American's history.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of the I love America, freedom fries.
And I won't forget the man who died. They don't play that song, but they might as well have.
It's pretty much what that feeling is. Hearing that song, playing it straight, is basically a lot of how this movie feels.
Yeah. All right, so we get into a house. It's Maddie's house. And Maddie's sister, Jeanette McCurdy, really wants to go on the Tiger Cruise. But Maddie's like, you've been 5 times already. So it's always the sister Kylie who goes on the cruise. Maddie never goes.
We learned this because Maddie doesn't want to.
Yeah. Oh, also, there's text on the screen that says September 2001.
Just in case you didn't realize what type of movie you're watching.
They tell you right away, like, hey, 9/11 is going to happen real soon.
Unless you don't know of 9/11 existing at all, in which case you're like, that's some weird foreshadowing. Why do I care about the specific month?
Okay. Do you know the Robert Pattinson movie? Okay. So I watched it and I didn't know it was a 9/11 movie. I'm just watching. You should
probably say the name for the people listening.
Remember Me, I think is what it's called.
Sounds like you need to remember movie.
Yeah, it's called Remember Me. Okay. So in Remember Me, you think it's just a normal romance film, right? Where this guy, Robert Pattinson, meets this girl and they're kind of like enemy celebrities. I don't remember everything. I was just like, sure, I'll watch a Robert Pattinson movie, right? He was in Twilight. Anyway, at the end of the movie, he's like making up with his dad and he goes meets his dad at his work. All of a sudden, like, it's at the end of the movie. I think she was like a teacher. She wrote the date on the board and it was September 11, 2001. And then he's in his dad's office and it zooms out and it's on the Twin Towers and he dies. And you're just like, What? This was a 9/11 movie the whole time, and you waited until the end to tell me it was September 11th, 2001?
I think I remember reading about this because I've not seen the movie, but I remember you telling me about it. And it was like the director was trying to say about how many stories got cut short because of 9/11. I'm just like, maybe just be a better filmmaker though.
It just really catches you off guard. This movie, not catching you off guard. They're like, we're gonna give you a warning that, like,
We're gonna put a viewer like advisory at the beginning saying this talks about 9/11.
yeah. So Maddie's like going on this cruise, but she isn't like super excited about it. And Kylie's like, wait till you see the ice cream machine. It's like soft serve, all you can eat. And then their mom comes in and sends Kylie out. And she's like, your dad was surprised, Maddie, when you said you wanted to go, but like it's gonna be nice for you two to spend time together. But like, why now? Why, after all these years, do you want to go on the Tiger Cruise now?
And Maddie's like, I'm not telling. This is a little secret for me.
It's a secret. She's like, just drop it, mom. Like, she's not telling anyone her motivation. She's really just like, I'm gonna go confront my dad about coming home. I'm not gonna let anyone talk me out of it.
Mhm.
I guess, which I feel like her mom would be fine with being like, okay, yeah, go talk to your dad about it. But whatever. All right, next we get to meet Anthony. It took me a long time through the movie to know his name. I always just called him Drummer because he's like in a car and he's drumming.
You can always tell if a movie that's a DCOM is going to have a drummer in it because they will show you them with drumsticks beating on everything.
Literally, it's the same introduction that Charlie had in Lemonade Mouth. He was in a car drumming.
It's the same introduction as that one drummer dude in You're a Drummer Dude.
He was at Camp Rock drumming on a bus and like suitcases.
That time he was like outside a bus,
outside.
But still his introduction was drumming on transportation.
If you are a drummer, you have to carry your sticks around with you and just drum on every surface.
If there's any drummers listening in, please tell us about your drumstick experience. And do you always carry drumsticks on you?
If you are a drummer, dude, please reach out to us.
Yeah. By the way, our fan mail is the dcomduo@gmail.com. We didn't mention that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Anthony's in the car. He's drumming away. He's with his dad, and we learn that he's going on the Tiger Cruise to hang out with his brother, who is in the Navy. And his dad says that his music is whack. And that's pretty much it.
That Pops never comes back.
No, he looked familiar.
He did look I didn't look at his. I can look it up real quick. I'll pull up the IMDb page. I'm like, he's got a one-line role. I'm not even gonna look. He did look familiar.
Mark Christopher Lawrence. He's in Life is Rough.
That's what it is. He's a bigger role in Life is Rough.
He's the dad in Life is Rough.
We'll talk about him there. We don't need to worry about it now.
Apparently, he was also in Garfield.
Yeah, because I think in Life is Rough, he's actually a bigger role.
I think he's the dad in Life is Rough.
Whenever we talk about Life is Rough Dad, which is never.
And he's a dad in Tiger Cruise.
Yeah.
So, boom. There we go. Next, we get to see Seattle. We see Tina. Sorry, I skipped over Joey. First, we meet Joey. He's in an airport in St. Louis. And I noted for Benji that they're in the airport. This is definitely pre 9/11.
I have a habit. Some may call it a joke. Some may call it an observation. I'm not sure where I stand on it. And it's my habit where anytime there's like a plane or an airport shown in a movie
or some kind of security thing
I'm always noting if it's pre 9/11 or post 9/11 because there's a huge difference in how airports worked.
Yeah. All those old romance films of people running through the airport to stop their loved one, it doesn't make sense anymore because you have to get through TSA. So little Joey is getting dropped off by his dad to go to the Tiger Cruise because his mom is in the Navy. There's like Navy and Air Force on this
I
cruise.
believe the mom's in the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a aircraft carrier,
Yeah.
so it makes sense. There's Air Force and
Yeah.
Navy.
Okay. And then we meet Tina in Seattle. She is practicing saluting in the mirror and gets called down to leave.
Yeah. They could bring all these small, like showing them in their home lives before going to cruise. They honestly didn't need to do this.
I don't know. It's kind of nice to see like where they come
It's
from.
nice to see it's like a set that isn't the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, but yeah, all of these are like 1 minute scenes at most, giving like a brief description of the character, but they still like write down what city they're in.
Well, I think we forgot to mention too, Anthony's in New York and you see the Twin Towers.
Yeah, that one makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because that's the one New York character.
Yeah. Yeah, but like why the Tina scene is so short. She's saluting in a mirror and then leaves. Like, but you know she's in Seattle.
And they had to get all that footage of Seattle.
Yeah. All right. So then we get a black screen and text comes up on the screen that says September 9th, 2001, day 1, on the way to Pearl Harbor.
Do you know the video game The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask?
I've heard of it, yeah.
So in that game, the whole concept is it is 3 days before the moon falls and kills like the whole town.
Dang.
Yeah. And they have these black screens that peer up that says like dawn of the final day.
Ooh.
And I'm just like, man, Tiger Cruise is just copying Majora's Mask.
When did Majora's Mask come out?
Definitely before it was on the Nintendo 64.
Oh, okay.
It came out 2000.
Okay, yeah. So they're just straight up ripping that off.
Yep.
Day 1.
Before 9/11.
And then we see, yeah. And then we see an airplane take off. Remember, this was before 9/11. And Anthony drums some more on the plane. He just can't help himself.
What's wild is when he's on the like plane, he doesn't, or not, sorry, when he's on the aircraft carrier, it kind of
never drums. Maybe
until like one scene later on.
I would have chucked his drumsticks in the ocean. So like maybe someone did that.
No, because he brings them later.
Maddie draws. She loves to draw. She draws all the time. I wrote enthusiastic girl because I didn't know her name yet. So like Anthony was drummer, Tina was enthusiastic girl.
They all are showing like one personality trait, which is Tina is just like, I love military, and Anthony's like, I don't want to be here, and Maddie's like, I'm on a mission despite hating this.
Yeah, and Joey's like, I want ice cream.
Yeah, Joey's all he wants is ice cream.
Yeah. So how are they all on the same plane?
My guess is they're going to
Hawaii. They're going to Pearl Harbor, so I bet they went to whatever state.
They all went to the same connection.
Yeah. What state would you go to before Hawaii?
Probably like California.
Yeah.
Probably LAX.
And then don't they get dropped off in California at the end of the movie?
Yes, but that was not necessarily a guarantee.
Yeah.
But I think they were good. San Diego's a big military town, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So okay, that explains it. So Tina's going on and on about the Tiger Cruise. She's like, it's so awesome. My sister's in the military. Her sister's in the Air Force. And she just knows so much about it. And she also explains that like no significant others are allowed on Tiger Cruise because that would be like complicated. I guess they don't want people boinking on the Tiger Cruise.
Also, they want people breaking up, probably.
Yeah. So it's just like family, like siblings, father, son, daughter, mother, whatever, like your relative. Maddie moves seats because Anthony is just drumming away and she's really annoyed. So she goes and sits next to Tina.
There's also, she takes the middle spot and the windows. Tina's in the aisle spot. In the window is this just one poor grandma.
Yeah.
Who is the opposite trope of most grandmas on a plane. And she just hates Tina. You can just see in her face. She wants nothing more than for Tina to shut up.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, yes, someone new is here. She'll stop talking to me, of course. She doesn't stop.
Yeah, no. And so Tina asks Maddie if she's a Navy brat, and Maddie goes, "I'm not a brat."
Why is that the term?
I didn't know it was a term until I watched this movie.
Well, they say it in Cadet Kelly too.
We might have watched this before Cadet Kelly. I don't remember. But they really ham home in this movie the term brat.
Yeah.
I feel like in Cadet Kelly, it's probably just slipped by me.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like, "I'm not a brat." And Tina's like, "Okay." And then she just still rambles on, and Maddie's annoyed. So, like, would you rather be next to the kid that drums or the girl that talks to you?
Drums.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She didn't even try to ask Anthony to stop.
Yeah, this is her fault.
Yeah.
She picked the person who was talking.
Yeah. All right. So then all the kids make it onto a bus on their way to the Navy ships. Maddie comforts Joey, who's there for his mom.
Knew their real life siblings.
Oh my gosh, they're real life siblings. And they go, "Man, that is big." They're talking about the ship. The cruise. The Tiger Cruise.
Yeah. Which is, the aircraft carriers are genuinely
It's ginormous.
gigantic.
Yeah.
There's a reason they're the biggest ship in
They can
Battleship.
they are fitting. Shut up. They are fitting like airplanes on them.
Yeah.
And
like multiple, like lots of airplanes.
And living quarters and weapons and like.
They mentioned out some line in here where it's like, it's basically its own city.
Yeah, it's like its own town. Yeah.
Aircraft carriers are very interesting. I have a fascination with them a little bit. Like,
ooh, you want to play Battleship?
Ooh. B4.
You sunk my Battleship.
Wow, on one hit?
Is very weak. Anthony finds his brother and he Anthony has an attitude about being here. He's like, "Whatever, I don't even want to be here." And I wrote military son meets his dad. I think this is the chef and the Marine dad. So we see them for the first time. And also the green screen. Absolutely terrible.
When we're watching this, because Kelsey likes to make a TikTok about every movie. While we're watching this, we found one at the end that I think will actually become the TikTok. But I kept thinking to myself, what are we going to do a TikTok on here? And I was thinking you could just do a mega cut of all of the terrible green screen.
I think it's this point in the film where they have people just walking in front, like back and forth in front of a green screen. You know, the direction was, all right, you have your suitcase, walk across the shot, and we'll just put it in front of a backdrop. Yep. And it looks so bad.
I'm not even one who I feel like notices green screens all that often.
No.
It's just so bad in this movie.
It's so
the
blatant.
Lighting's never right.
No.
When they always look like when they're trying to make it look like they're on the ocean, it never looks good. And it's just, I think it's because they're filming on an actual aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And therefore they don't have a good stage for setting all this up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is so bad.
It's so bad.
Yeah. A note about the military son meets his dad. This is like the one relationship we focus on where the kids in the military and the adults, the tiger.
Yeah, but he used to be
in the military. And like any boomer will mention it.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Well, especially if there's any place to mention it, it's probably when you're on a Navy ship.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, it's in the Marines." Tina meets up with her sister, and Joey finds his mom, and more horrible green screen, and then Maddie finds her dad, and she's very excited to see him. Despite her whole attitude before this, she's like really excited to see her dad. We don't know what her intentions are yet, like watching the movie, but we've seen the movie. We read the description. She wants to convince her dad to stay. But you're not supposed to know that yet. And he's like, "Wow, look at you. It's been a while, huh?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's been a while." And he's like, "All right, come meet me later on the bridge," which is like
a ship term.
Yeah, a ship term for like where he does captain stuff. He's not the captain, but he's second in command.
He is second in command. He's pretty up there.
He's pretty up there. Everyone starts settling their cabins, and Marine Dad, this is the first time he mentions, "I was in the Marines," and he makes like a sexist comment. And
they really do not hate this guy well at all.
No, I don't remember what the sexist comment is. I put a question mark, so I think it was only vaguely sexist.
I think what was happening was he says, "Hey Joey," or like Joey's his bunkmate,
Yeah.
the little boy, and he's like, "Are you here to see your dad?" And he goes, "No,
No, my
my
mom.
mom." And he goes, "Oh yeah, they allow that now."
Yeah, they
or
allow
something like that.
women now.
Back in my day, women were confined to the kitchen.
And Joey's like, I'll pee on your stuff.
Basically.
That's basically what happened. He's like, you're potty trained, right? Which Joey's like 7. Like, what? And Joey's like, yeah, except when I drink a lot of soda or whatever he
And then
says.
he takes a big drink of soda,
Yeah.
which is just a power move and a random moment of like fun comedy in this movie that has far too little of it.
Yeah. Tina talks about wanting to join the Air Force just like her sister. And Tina is the one talking, not Tina. Tina's sister Grace is the one talking Tina, and Grace is like, "Hey, military's not all fun and games, all right? Air Force, pretty serious. Like, maybe you don't want to join the Air Force."
Yeah. She's the one character in here who's like, "Oh my god, I love the military so much." And all the military people are like, "I hate this job."
Okay, here's the thing about this movie compared to like Cadet Kelly. Cadet Kelly, I feel like, was very much join the military, right? The military is awesome. This movie
was much more respect our heroes.
Respect the military and not necessarily join it. Like, they kind of say multiple times, like, this is not for everyone.
But like, it's for me.
It's for me, and it takes a special kind of person to do these things.
That is a valid point and one that I feel like we should stress. I really like that comment. Where it's just this movie, Cadet Kelly was definitely a military is for everyone.
Yeah.
Flip some guns.
Go to military school. Yeah.
Be like Hillary Duff.
Conform.
Yeah, really. That was very much a conform movie. Whereas this movie, yeah, they have multiple messages in here of like, you couldn't do military, but it's not portrayed as like, don't join the military. It's people in the military deserve respect and honor and love, which is like all true, but also kind of a boring message.
Yeah. It is like military propaganda.
Especially in like the recent post 9/11 world.
Yeah.
And that was everywhere.
Yeah.
Just from my interaction with media from around that time, because I obviously was not very conscious at that time.
Yeah. It's just kind of refreshing to not be like, and you should join the military too. You know?
Yeah.
All right. So now we're looking around the boat some more, and there's like planes and stuff, and Maddie is sketching away. And we see the captain's bridge. This is where stuff happens, like leadership stuff. And they're getting ready for the ship to move. And oh my gosh, they take off. Amazing. And I wrote, Tina needs to calm down.
Because she's just the whole movie blabbermouthing about military this, military that.
Yeah. And then they talk about Pearl Harbor because that's where they're taking off from is Pearl Harbor. Marine Dad is like, December 7th, 1941 is a date that will live in infamy.
I mean, yeah, that's the FDR speech.
Yeah, he says it's FDR said it. And he's like, yeah, it's really important because they're like looking at the memorial, and then Maddie starts to sketch it, and then everyone salutes the memorial. And I think it's kind of interesting to do that when he's like quoting the date and everything, when literally a more infamous date is happening in 2 days.
Yes. Which I think is an interesting, and I feel like that's a good decision this movie made, especially like using the idea of the location to be able to talk about Pearl Harbor, because it starts the conversation about like national tragedies, especially involving the military.
Yeah.
Immediately. We're not going to talk too much about Pearl Harbor.
No. But like
it was a fine enough scene. That scene I felt like was done pretty well.
Yeah, it's just interesting as a person who was born in 1998. Like I was, obviously way after Pearl Harbor, and too young to remember 9/11. 9/11 is the date I know. I don't think I could have told you the date Pearl Harbor was.
I could have got the year, and I think that's it.
That's about it. Like I know what it is. I couldn't have told you the exact date.
But that, yeah, it wasn't our generation.
Yeah.
It wasn't even really our parents.
It helps that literally when you talk about 9/11, you say 9/11. That's the
Yeah,
date
that's
that it
the name
happened.
of it. No
Yeah.
one said
You don't really
the terrorist
say,
attacks on the World Trade Center.
yeah, sometimes they say like World Trade Center, but like most of the time it's just 9/11. You don't say 12/7 for
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor, you say Pearl Harbor. All right. So then you see some planes taking off the ship. Wow, it's the Air Power Show. And some young tigers are in the game room having fun, and Maddie's sketching kids. And in the kitchen, chefs are making food. And Marine Boomer Dad is like, the Navy has it so easy. Look at all this food. Wow, in my day, being a Marine was so hard. It's just a classic boomer of like, you think your life is hard? Even like Gen X does this.
I'm going to say this. Mom, we're not talking about you.
No, honestly, I'm talking more about my parents. Gen X.
What I'm saying here is just this is very stereotypical boomer.
Yeah.
Much more than any actual evidence or something there. But like this character was written to be like the out of touch boomer in 2004, which is interesting.
It's so easy for them now. And then Joey gets some soft serve ice cream. And he's like, oh, now I see why it's called the dog machine. It's because the chocolate ice cream looks like dog food.
Yeah, it just goes.
It honestly doesn't look appetizing, but I know it's ice cream.
It's ice cream, so it's going to taste good.
Yeah.
And like ice cream sometimes does not look appetizing, but still tastes good.
Yeah. All right.
But he likes his ice cream. This is like one of the only plot points of Joey is he likes ice cream.
Really, that's his whole personality. Is that like his mom's in the Navy and he likes ice cream?
Yeah, he's too young. His real personality hasn't grown yet.
Tina asks Maddie if she wants to be an artist when she grows up. And Maddie says, who knows? And Tina's like, well, I want to be in the military. And Maddie's like, I don't want to be in the military. And she's like, why not? The military is so awesome. And Maddie's like, well, what if I want to have kids someday? And Tina's like, you don't want them to be brats?
Man, you really don't like this word brats. Yeah. Man, do you not like the dolls or something?
And then, okay, this part's so weird. A lieutenant comes to tell Maddie that like her dad wants to see her later. And then he like low-key flirts with Tina.
It is weird because there is definitively an extra pause where they look at each other. Tina's like 14.
Tina is fine to think he's cute, like and have a little crush.
He walks away and says, oh my God, he's so handsome. Completely fine. But there's like this extra pause where they kind of look at each other.
Yeah, and he's like having a vibe with this teenage girl, and he is fully an adult.
Why is this in the movie?
It's weird.
What are you doing, Dwayne?
Why is this lieutenant thinking about, at the very least, flirting with this teenage girl?
Who's related to someone on his ship.
He's getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
By Grace.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Honestly, probably by Maddie's dad, too.
Yeah.
Okay. Maddie goes to the bridge to see her dad. And Tina also came. And the lieutenant is like, Tina, come over here so I can show you some stuff. Like, what is going on?
It is the weirdest subplot. It gets dropped.
It's dropped immediately.
But like, it is so weird.
I'm worried about that. Luckily 9/11 happens.
Yeah, thank God for 9/11. Do not take that out of context.
Please don't quote us on that. Maddie's dad shows her his living quarters, and then he asks about school, and she's like, I don't know, it's September. It's barely started. Just in case you forgot it was September, guys.
Yeah. They have to mention between every commercial break just so no one tunes in and is shocked. Because they're like, I didn't know it was 9/11.
He's like, how's school? And she's like, Dad, it's September 2001. It's
September 9th, 2000.
Just in case you forgot what year it was, Dad. And she's like, you know, it sucks that I've switched schools so many times. You know how many times I've switched schools? You know how many elementary schools I went to? 5.
That means one every year.
One every year.
The dad guesses 4.
Yeah, he's like 4, and she's like, it was 5.
I think it's rough that he doesn't know.
When you move that many times, it's less important to him.
I feel like if you moved every year, you would remember.
He's
Maybe
not
once, like,
around.
twice in a year.
He's not around to see her go to school.
That's yeah.
And he's like, man, small talk is hard. And then dad says, I talked to your mom and she's a little concerned. She wants me to find out, like, what's going on with you. Like, I could never get you on board for this Tiger Cruise. And now all of a sudden you volunteered. And Maddie's like, I gotta go because the paper airplane contest is starting.
That's kind of weird. I feel like these two, the whole core of the movie is based on their relationship and their emotional core. And there is something there.
Yeah.
But this scene's also completely distracted by more bad green screens. Every emotional scene is so, like, hampered by the bad green screens.
Yeah.
It really is distracting.
Yeah.
You cannot watch this movie and not notice it.
Yeah. She's really, like, waiting for the right moment too in front. She's like just sprinkling in a little bit of guilt.
Doubt, yeah.
Seeds of guilt of like, Dad, I switched schools so many times and it sucked. Okay, bye. I'm gonna leave.
I'm gonna go play some paper airplanes.
Yeah. So now it's time for the paper airplane contest.
This is so cool. And I never heard of it.
You think it's cool?
I think this is what, like, who came up with this idea?
So, like, they're throwing a bunch of paper airplanes and the kids have to catch their enemies' airplanes in a net.
It's like a giant pool net.
Yeah.
And
like a butterfly net.
Yeah. And they're catching paper airplanes. I'm like, that just seems kind of fun. I don't know. You don't think it would be fun?
I feel like it wouldn't work as well as it does in the movie.
Well, I'm like, what? Why did they come up with this? When you hear paper airplane contest, you assume it's who flies the longest.
Yeah. Like, who can make the best one. I did that in, like, science class in middle school.
I always tried to go for the strategy of curling it up into a ball and throwing it, but then it got beat by some planes and I felt sad.
Actually, I don't think it was airplanes that we did. It was, like, a whirler thing. Like, you had to cut the paper so it, like, falls the slowest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway. Maddie complains about being called a brat again, and Anthony walks around the ship and he's going out to the deck and a dude's like, hey, we got like airplanes going and stuff, you're no hats. And he's like, whatever, I'm gonna put my hat on anyway. And then he goes outside and his hat blows off.
It immediately goes off, which yeah.
It wasn't a safety thing, it was a your hat's gonna blow off.
Maybe that is actually a safety thing.
Yeah, actually, never mind. It is a safety thing. But like, dude, now you lost your hat. Maddie and Tina then go out.
I don't know why they're sneaking around.
I don't know. And like, Anthony is blowing around in the wind because there's like tons of wind going on because there's like airplanes. He's holding up his jacket and playing in the wind. Yeah, and then he's like getting literally blown off the side of the ship.
He falls off the side of the ship.
He falls off. Luckily, there's a net right there. Otherwise, he'd be fucking dead right now.
It is so weird that there's not a single consequence for this.
And they go and they look over the edge of like, oh my god,
and then
he's there and he's like, that was awesome. And
then pretty comfortable down here, and then they leave him. Yeah, good for them. He doesn't deserve their help.
And he's like, wait, no, come back. Which they're probably just gonna go get someone to help get him out. But
it's so dumb.
Don't tell him that. He deserves it. He was being stupid. And then we see the game room for a scene, and there's like games happening. They're playing like air hockey and foosball.
Yeah, you can have fun on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah. And there's a lot of filler shots of
this movie is a lot of filler. Again, I think this movie picked the worst amount of time to be pre 9/11 versus post 9/11. Like, if they did more of this stuff, you could tell a more interesting story to that point and not have 9/11 be like the big event, but it could be a part, like an element of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have it near the beginning and then it's all about like the reaction to it, which is the way more interesting story.
Yeah, I found that way more interesting.
But like, this is what it's like on an aircraft carrier, but not actually, because this is what it's like to have kids on an aircraft carrier who are supposed to be on an aircraft carrier, just kind of like goofing around. And also, everyone has like a story about their appreciation for the military. But I don't care about that.
Yeah. All right, now it's time for the big emotional talk that Maddie's been gearing up for.
This one's at night, so the green screen's less bad.
It's still less bad, but still bad. Maddie's dad finds her looking out on the water, and he brings her sketchbook. And she's like, you can go ahead and look inside. And he's like, wow, these are really good. They even make me homesick. I even miss the stupid dog.
Just a random stray at the dog. Like,
Yeah.
what's that bullet for?
And then Natty says, when are you coming home? Like, for good. And he's like, is that why you came here to ask me that? This is my job, Maddie. And she says, well, then get a new one. And I think you made this joke of, this is what I do. I stand in front of green screens. Maddie says, you have no responsibilities.
What? This is so, that part of, to me, is really dumb. They really act like this movie is the first time Maddie understands that her dad is like important, which is really dumb because she's a smart character and would absolutely know that her dad like has people under her and like could impact the military scene.
Yeah.
And is like the operation depends on him a lot. Why does she have to see it for her own eyes later?
Does she really think that he just stands around and does
That's
nothing?
what she says.
Yeah. And he's like, yes, I do have responsibilities. And Maddie says, okay, yeah, to strangers. But what about us, your family? And he goes, the Navy is a way of life. You go in knowing the sacrifices. And Maddie says, but it's been my whole life.
This is where I think the whole context of the argument is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Where it's just he consented to this job, but his daughter didn't. And
it's been the
what
whole
level
time.
of entitlement does she get to that?
Yeah.
And I think is an interesting concept. It's too small of a plot and like not entertaining enough to really go deeper.
She says, I got detention because I was defending my sister at school. They're making fun of us because we were the new kids and we were Navy brats. But apparently is a thing you can make fun of kids. I don't know, kids will make fun of you for anything, I guess. Yeah. She says, you're never here to see this stuff or help us. I'm tired of being a Navy brat. And Dad says it's not easy being away. After Friday, I'll be home for a while. And she says, it's always for a while and never permanent. He says, we'll talk about this as a family at home. And Maddie says, no, we're going to talk about this now. And Dad,
when we're a family at home, everything's different.
Yeah, because we're always just like so excited that you're home, blah, blah, blah. Like, we talk about it now. And Dad says, this is a curveball you're throwing me. We'll have more time to talk about it.
I think she goes like, that means no. But
that was it.
That's the scene.
So probably the longest scene of the movie. Yeah. Deep stuff there. And then it's September 10th, 2001, day 2 at sea. Good morning, everyone. We have exciting activities today.
Ooh.
Boomer Marine Dad is shown around the kitchen because his son is the chef, or a chef in the kitchen. And the dad's like, one call to your uncle and you could be working at the Pentagon.
No, I think he's saying one call to the uncle and you can get promoted. He's consistently saying the uncle works at the Pentagon.
No, he said you can go work at the Pentagon with your uncle.
Okay. I maybe misinterpreted that because I thought he was saying you can get a promotion.
Well, yeah, he wants him to not be a chef anymore. Yeah. He wants him to just like be in the military.
The son's like, no, like I like being a chef.
Sailors gotta eat. And also the son's name is Danny, apparently. I wrote it down. I did not remember that later, but I did write it down. His name is Danny. All right. Cut to Joey. This is the best part of the movie, by the way, guys.
Well,
other than the
second
end.
Best part.
This is the part we remembered.
This is the only thing we remembered of any positivity towards this movie.
Yeah. So Joey is getting more ice cream. And as he's getting ice cream, he goes, and then we get a gross close-up of the ice cream coming out of the machine.
Chocolate ice cream.
I wonder how long they filmed this for, like a week.
Yeah.
To get this shot. And it looks like poop again. But then, once he gets his bulge, once again, he goes, heh, heh, heh. And that's literally the entire scene.
Why do we just see him get ice cream and go? It's dumb and we like it.
We like that he goes heh heh heh. Literally, that's the subtitles say heh heh heh.
H-E-H, H-E-H, H-E-H.
It's pretty great. Then, Grace, who's Tina's sister, shows Tina and Maddie a plane from the Air Force. And Tina wants to be like on deck when they do the air show, when like Grace and other pilots take off. But Tina says, or not Tina, Grace says, no, it's serious. You can't be there. It's dangerous. But Tina wants to be closer so she can take her pictures. By the way, she has a camera. Grace's like, no. But then Maddie's like, well, maybe my dad can help. And then we get literally a 2-second scene of Marine Boomer dad walking around and then starts climbing ladders.
They come back to him a couple times where it's just like when he left his son in the kitchen, he's like, I'm a Marine. You don't need to show me around a ship.
Yeah.
And he gets completely lost.
Why does he think climbing ladders is the right way to go?
Because he knows he has to go up, but he doesn't know how he got down.
Oh, jeez Louise. Maddie's dad is showing some boys some like figurines, some like war planning shit. And Anthony starts playing with them. So, like, you know how little kids play with like dolls, but it's ships. And Maddie's dad's like, this is serious. No playing. Like, if you move those around, you could cost people their lives. And he's like, geez, okay.
Serious much? Wow.
And then Maddie comes in and asks to be on the flight deck during the air show. And Maddie's dad is like, no. And then Anthony is like, hey, I'll get you guys down there. Follow me.
I feel like there's no reason for him to know about how to get there.
He's just like, I'm sneaking around.
Like, no one's been catching me.
Yeah, no one cares.
Other than that one net.
Yeah.
That saved my life.
And then you see Boomer Marine dad climbing to a ladder again, and he's struggling. And he's like, if the sailors could do it, I could do it. I was in the Marines.
Yep. That's his entire aesthetic.
Yeah. All right, so now it's almost time for the air show, and the kids are sneaking around, and some planes take off. And then Marine Boomer Dad finally makes to the top of the ladder, but then he can't fit through
the
manhole.
And
people laugh at him.
And he's like, can I get some help? And that's it.
I don't know how he gets out of that.
Probably goes back down.
That would suck. Joey and his mom watch the air show from the deck that they're supposed to be watching it from. And Boomer Marine Dad also watches from that deck. But the 3 kids that are sneaking around, they put on some gear and sneak out onto the deck. And they say, this is tight. And there's Grace. She takes off and Tina snaps some pictures. But then Maddie's like, we gotta go.
Maddie knows the timing of when you get caught.
Yeah. And then a guy spots the kids and they run away. And then they like duck and hide. And the guy that was chasing them runs past them. So then
they pop out.
They pop out of their hiding spot and they're like, yeah, we did it. We did it.
High fives all around.
Different guy just immediately sees them. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
You think like they're like out there for like 10 seconds just celebrating. And the guy just casually walks up behind him and goes, y'all stupid.
Y'all are stupid. Cut to the captain, like the actual captain of the ship.
This is his only scene.
Pretty much. He's yelling at the kids. But he's like, you're going to get off with a warning this time. And then he sends the kids off to talk with their families. And then he's with all of the military people in charge of them. And he's like, don't be too rough on them. And they share some knowing smiles. So basically the captain was like, just putting on a show. He's like, kids will be kids. They could have died.
They definitely could have died. But whatever.
Maddie talks with her dad, and there's horrible green screen.
Again, we're not over mentioning it. Literally any scene that has theoretical natural light is terribly green screen.
Terrible.
And it never like fades into the background. I don't know how they thought it was okay.
It was 2004, and they're like, it looks so good. So Maddie's dad says, "Were you trying to get my attention? I'm worried about you. It's serious and dangerous out there. You shouldn't disobey me. I don't understand what you're going through, but you gotta think about your actions more and learn that the world doesn't revolve around you." And then he leaves. But also later she says like he wasn't mad. He wasn't like yelling as much. He was just kind of like really disappointed in her, and that's worse.
Oh my god, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anthony's brother yells at him.
His brother's barely in this, and
I
he's
know.
like the military connection.
And he's like, "It was a mistake to bring you. It was my idea and I was wrong. You gotta behave." And then he leaves and Anthony just shakes his head. And they never really mend their relationship.
Nope,
I know
not at all.
they have a goodbye at the end of the movie, but I'm like, we didn't see them like mend fences.
That is such a quarter baked plot.
Like literally at the end of the movie, I was thinking like his brother still hates him, right? Like he's still like, "I wish I didn't bring you."
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Even though like literally 9/11 happened and they're from New York and we don't see anything more about their relationship and like how scary it is for the both of them.
Mhm.
We see stuff with Anthony, but like what about his brother who's from New York? We get nothing.
We had nothing.
Talent show time. Some people are dancing on the talent show. And Anthony says,
First off, why is there a talent show on day one of this?
It's day two.
I guess, yeah, the day they take off counts. Oh, day 2 of this cruise. So the talent show should be at the end, but I guess they wanted to show a talent show and they can't do it after 9/11 because that would just be weird.
That would be weird. You gotta anticipate a terrorist attack happening on day 3.
Are you saying 9/11 was planned? Because then why didn't the government?
No, I'm saying you always just gotta be ready for anything.
Oh, okay. Good save.
Thank you. Anthony says Trouble's my middle name. I guess because they're talking about how they were all in trouble. And he's like, "Sorry, I got you guys in this." But Tina's like, "It's all right." And Maddie says her dad was quiet and she almost wished he would have yelled at her, which he seemed kind of mad to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then she goes, "Hey, Joey, you want more ice cream?" And Joey goes, "I don't think so," because he had too much ice cream.
Joey's just only cares about ice cream.
Then he had too much. And then there's more dancing and a guy drumming, but not Anthony.
But not the drummer dude.
Not the drummer dude. Maddie, then it's a new scene. She's looking at a picture of her dad on the wall, and the lieutenant guy comes up. And he mentions that her dad is like disappointed in her because he was really excited for her to come. And then he goes on about like, it's not paradise out here. It can be like really lonely and dangerous at times. But your dad makes it easier for us to be out here. He's like a father to us. And Maddie goes, must be nice. Ooh. Damn. Yeah, Lieutenant said, he's my dad.
I took your dad. He's mine now.
Your dad is a really great dad.
Do you want to orphan me?
Your dad's a really good dad, but only to me and the boys.
Let's go, boys.
Yeah, probably not the right thing to say to the girl that wishes her dad would come home. And then Maddie meets her dad in the bridge, and she says, "I'm sorry for today." And he goes, "It's behind us now. There's a lot to think about. Some of the things you said have an element of truth to them." It's such a weird way to say it. This dad is so weird.
The dad is not perfectly well written.
No. He goes, "I never knew how unhappy you were, but you're right. I miss a lot. I'm in line for assignment to command my own ship, and I've worked for it my whole life, and you're asking me to give it up." And he just keeps going. Like he's like guilting her, but then says, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it up."
I think he was making sure she was serious. Like she
doesn't say anything.
A guilt trip.
She doesn't say anything. She's just kind of taking it. And then he's like, "I'm going to do it though. I'm going to go home."
Yeah, I think what he's doing here is just first off, it's setting up for her to revert on the ask in the end game. But he's just like, man, look at everything I'm sacrificing.
Yeah.
Just like you were sacrificing not having a father.
It literally is just like, hey, I'll do it. I'll come home, but I'm going to resent you for it.
I will hate you to the end of your life.
I'm literally about to get promoted,
I'm gonna
but
be a captain.
I'm going to be a capitan. But then Maddie's like, oh my God, you're coming home. Yay. It's so fun. Uh-oh.
Man, it's so happy we got a nice ending to this movie, and nothing's gonna change that decision. They just got to get home from this cruise with, nothing important or
Life
like
changing.
historical happening.
It's a black screen again. September 11th, 2001. Day 3 at sea. Again. At sea again. A plane takes off and it's gone. But then alarms go off and they wake Maddie up. And military people are running all around the ship. And Maddie finds her dad, but she doesn't get to speak to him. And Maddie sees Grace. But Grace is like shuts the door on her because serious military stuff's happening. And then Maddie's dad gives orders in the control room. And we see the events of 9/11 happening on a TV.
Again, if you don't know what 9/11 is, for a while you'll be like, what's going on in this movie? Why do they keep showing off the dates? And
Yeah. Why does the date matter? Why does the year matter?
yeah, 9/11. We don't need to talk about it too much. It's exactly what you think it's going to be in this movie.
This is so random, but it made me think of it. No. I've been listening to Percy Jackson for the first time ever. And they were just at the casino, and when they come out of it, it's like a trap thing to keep you there forever. And when they come out of it, Percy goes and finds like a newspaper or something with a date on it, and he goes, oh, thank God, it's the same year it was when we went in. But he doesn't say what year it was.
To make it more timeless.
Yeah, no, that's what I found it interesting. Of like, you don't want to date yourself for a movie that could theoretically take place at any time.
Yeah. For a book.
For a book, yeah. But this movie, super important what year it is. Yeah. Maddie wakes Tina up and all the tigers have to go to like the main room.
Yeah. They're getting like a little like, tigers go here. Rrr,
yeah.
Rrr.
And then all the tigers start to wake up and they're freaking out.
Why
and
are
then
they called tigers?
Did they explain it?
I don't think they did.
They might have.
The family members are all called tigers. Hopefully we explain that at some point. And it's
the Tiger Cruise.
Yeah.
Maddie's dad gives orders that like no messages are going out, only messages coming in right now. He's like basically panic controlling everything because like you have tons of civilians on the boat. You also have there's a ton of people on the boat, period. You need to control the messages coming in and out like you're in the middle of a terrorist attack. So only messages coming in so that they get orders for what they need to do next. He said we could be going anywhere until we know more. We need to be ready for battle. And I know this is going to be hard. Like our civilians, our family members are on board, but we have to stay on task.
You got to ignore them.
Yeah.
Which again, I feel like that would be an interesting concept for a movie, but they really don't touch on it much because no one ignores them.
It's because this is a kid's movie and you can't actually go into like those adult like
maybe if this was a more of an adult movie, it could actually be something.
I think it could. But it's a Disney Channel movie.
I do leave this movie thinking to myself, there is something here. There's a story in there that could be a really good movie.
Yeah.
This wasn't it.
It wasn't. Maddie comforts Joey, who misses his mom. They're siblings in real life. And then Maddie sees her dad, and he's like, "You have to stay here." And he doesn't give any more info, and then he leaves. But then he gives the announcement to like the whole ship and all the tigers and everyone.
Someone's like telling him right now, "Hey, another plane just hit the Pentagon."
Well, that was at the end of his speech, but yeah, he's like, planes hit the World Trade Center.
We don't know what's going on.
Yeah, all the kids start to cry. And he says also at least one other hijacking was confirmed. And that's when someone comes and tells him, like, yeah, the Pentagon was just hit. And then dad leaves and he tells Maddie to stay put again. So it's pretty big emotional like announcement, that there's a terrorist attack.
Mhm.
Like it's pretty scary. And then in the kitchen, Marine Boomer dad comes to yell at his son for continuing to make food. And he's like, this is my job, dad. Like,
Also, sailors gotta eat.
yeah. And then they see the news about the Pentagon and they worry about his uncle.
The uncle that's been name dropped like 3 times as working in the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Not foreshadowing anything there.
Ooh. And then this whole section, I just have Maddie watches more footage and cries.
This you gotta have the scenes of everyone being sad.
Yeah.
Because it's 9/11.
And then Maddie's dad confirms that the fourth plane went down in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So just, the events of 9/11, and then military stuff happens. And then in the Tiger Room, Tina says that Grace is flying around patrol. Like they don't know what they're looking for. They're just out there on patrol. And then they talk with Joey about his mom and they talk about how hard it is when your parent is away.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lieutenant comes to grab Maddie because her dad wants to see her. Yeah, he's like, don't worry about your family members, but he's constantly talking to Maddie.
Hi, Maddie. I get to talk to you because I'm second in command. And who are they going to say? They're not going to go to the captain and be like, he's talking to his daughter.
But like, what they talk about here is he's like, I need you to like help me figure out like what the kids need. So at least there's kind of a reason for it where he's like,
you're going to be like in command here.
Because he needs to worry about all the civilians on the ship too and make sure that they're doing okay. So he's like hang out with the kids, tell me what they need. Like, I need you to do this for me. And she's like, aye, sir. And he's like, don't be sarcastic. And she's like, I'm not. But it did sound sarcastic. Yeah, okay. Also, in the room that they're in, they're like watching the news and stuff. Boomer Marine dad, he's like, I was in the Marines and my brother's at the Pentagon and I want to know if he's okay. And Maddie's dad is like, well, since you're in the Marines, you should be familiar with command. These are the orders. Like, stay put. And then they announce all the Tiger activities are canceled, including the unfurling of the flag.
No, everyone loves the unfurling of the flag. Like, I get it can be fun.
It's a big flag.
But like, it's so silly that that's like the setup for the later payoff.
Yeah. And then, so then Maddie talks to her dad, blah, blah, blah. And then Boomer Marine dad comes over again and he's like, I really need to know about my brother. But the answer is still no. But then Maddie's dad's like, all right, if you give me the name and rank, whatever, of your brother, I'll let you know if I hear anything. And then the Marine dad says, thank you. And then he walks away.
He doesn't say anything.
He doesn't give him the name.
Which, like, it's fine. He's going to write it down later, but, like, it's very silly.
Because I feel like he could just say it out loud right now.
The dad's not going to remember with how much other stuff he's going to have to do, probably. But, like, I agree. It's really weird to not have it be said. Even just in a scene, like, in real life, it'd be said there. I think you skipped over a very important fact of the Boomer dad being racist.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about the racist part. Okay, so while they're watching the footage, this is the beginning of the scene, and Marine Boomer dad is there.
One random other like dad Tiger Cruise person that has like 3 lines in the movie.
Yeah, he's also there, and he's black. Just putting it out there. Marine dad is like, we all know who did this, and the other guy's like, you want to say that out loud? And he's like, rah, 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 rah. Like he just,
I think someone says like, we don't even know who did this, and he's like, I'm pretty sure we do.
Pretty sure we know. Like and he just almost says something really racist.
Yeah, I'm still curious what ethnicity group he thinks did these attacks.
Yeah, we don't know actually.
If you have conspiracy theories, please let us know.
Yeah, because this was before the war. This is the
This was
start of the war on
was it
terror.
that like clear? Because I feel like it wasn't that it would be like the Middle East. I feel like Russia with like old Soviets. Maybe he's
Maybe.
saying the Democratic Party.
Oh my God.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what you get for trying to get Gore elected or getting Bush elected. I don't know.
All right. So then Maddie goes back to the tiger room and sees a girl crying on the couch. And these kid actors are not that good at fake crying. I feel bad because they're kids. But
But they're not good.
honestly, when you see her though, she does have tears on her eyes, which could have just been put there.
Yeah, they
But
probably just
also,
squirted some water.
I feel like maybe the girl was realistically crying, and then the director was like, "Give me more, be louder." Like, just like not very good directing on fake crying.
Yeah.
Maddie goes over and comforts the girl. She's like crying on a couch, right? She's like laying down on a couch, and Maddie goes over to comfort her. And then as she's like, "Hey, it's okay," another girl just comes up behind Maddie to hug her and be like, "I'm sad too."
This is we were talking about it in here. It's sad to talk about because it's a girl's crying about 9/11,
Yeah.
but it's the most pick me behavior you ever see.
The second girl is such a we're like, I bet she wasn't even sad before she saw this girl crying get attention.
She just goes, "You're hugging a crying girl. I'm gonna walk up crying and hug you to get in on this."
And you said it was like, oh, my dog back home, Han. So it's like when you're petting one of your dogs and the other dog has to come up, like, no, you have to pet me. Which is really mean to say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the energy we got. Maddie's dad does more military stuff. And they say the country's in a standstill since all like air travel's cut off because duh.
Yeah, 9/11.
Oh yeah. So he's like, how are we gonna get all of these people home? So that's a problem he's gonna have to deal with. Maddie's dad grabs Maddie again, and she has like 5 kids with her now on the couch. And then he tells her the kids should all be in bed, but Maddie says, no, like I think they want to stay here because they're scared and they just want to stay together. And he says they get another 30 minutes. And she says, deal. And then she asks her dad, like, is something happening that you're not telling us? And he's like, we don't know much right now. And then Maddie breaks down and cries in her dad's arms because it's all just really scary. But then she goes back to comfort the kids, and he's really proud of her. You can tell. Black screen, September 12th, 2001, day 4, 500 miles from San Diego. They're not at sea anymore.
They're not at sea. This entire day that they're spending here is going to be entirely at sea. So I don't know why they really say how many miles are from San Diego instead of at sea.
Yeah. Tina asked Grace if she saw anything out there, but Grace is like, nope, no one's coming. And there's more bad green screen. And Maddie's dad gives more military orders. And then Maddie sketches Anthony watching TV. Anthony's like watching the TV.
Anthony,
really
ever since 9/11 has happened, has just been only doom scrolling. That's a term that didn't necessarily exist during the time of this movie, but it is very accurate to what he's doing right now.
Yeah. And then all the kids start yelling at Anthony that they want to watch a movie. He's watching the news right now. And they're like, there's other rooms to watch the news. We want to watch a movie. And Anthony's like, no.
Kids go movie.
Honestly, they got a point. Like, let's watch A Bug's Life.
Yeah, like honestly, wait, they can't do A Bug's Life. She's here. Oh. Yeah, there's literally a room for the news. Why is he watching in the room for the not the news?
I don't know. He's a kid.
Yeah. Post 9/11 shock. I'm not gonna hate on it, but like I'm gonna hate on it.
This is the point of the movie I learned his name was Anthony. Maddie kind of like helps calm things down. She's like, yeah, let's watch a movie here. And Anthony's like, whatever, watch a dumb movie. Like, Don't you want to know what's going on?
You're not getting any new information at this point, and if you do, the ship will tell you.
Yeah. Well, then we get like Anthony's emotional moment. And like the reason is he's from New York. Like I think he's just looking to see like, do I know any of these
these names
people?
that had come up.
Yeah. And so yeah, Maddie finds Anthony watching the news in another room. And she shows him the sketch of him. And he's like, do I really look like this? Which is like worried, you know? She's like, yeah, right now you do. Why do you keep watching? And he goes, have you ever seen the towers? And Maddie's like, once. He's like, well, I'm from Staten Island. Like,
I see him every day.
I see him every day. This is my neighborhood. A lot of my friends' parents work in those buildings. And a girl in my class, her dad is a fireman. My grandpa is back there right now. Like, he knew people. You know, those towers, they were just always there. Like, I never got tired of looking at them. And now it's going to be so different. Like, it's not going to be the same anymore.
Couple of notes on this. Number one, slight spoiler for the rest of the movie. It is very interesting to me that the only like confirmed death that we get of someone that anyone knows in the whole movie is the uncle, the Marine dad's brother.
They don't even say that
that's
he's
in the
dead.
Pentagon.
Yeah, in the Pentagon. They don't even say that he's dead, though. They say he's missing.
Which presumed dead at the amount of days it's been.
Yeah.
It's just the Pentagon is so much considered not the big part of the attack. Yeah. But that's a whole thing. Number two, controversial opinion alert. As someone who did not live with them in existence for the vast majority of my life, my whole conscious being, I feel like the Twin Towers were ugly.
I told Benji because he told me this yesterday. I'm like, you can't say that. You're an American. Like, people take that shit seriously. How dare you insult the looks of the World Trade Center?
The One World Trade Center looks better. But it was such like a boring outside building. The only thing cool about the Twin Towers was that there were two of them.
There's two of them.
But like that's not enough for it to just.
And they're really big. Boring. They're really, really big.
Yeah. That's my take on it.
They're like iconic. This scene I think is my favorite scene of this movie. Like my favorite emotional core. This is the kind of stuff I'm more interested in, like seeing the impact of 9/11 from someone who actually from there, and like seeing that perspective. Like I know people that are there right now, and I'm not there right now. Like, I'm way more interested in that. I don't know. It's something that I'll never know because I was 2 years old.
Yep.
And not only that,
living anywhere close to the action.
I'm from Minnesota. Like, you know, it was scary for everyone in the country, but it was super scary for the people of New York.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I like that part.
Bless you. All right, now you're doing it for attention.
I hate when you say that.
I wasn't going to say it after 2, but you did 3.
It wasn't for attention.
You're mad that I didn't say bless you after the second one.
Honestly, shut up. That one wasn't for attention. That's why I did it the third time.
See? You submitted.
All right. So then the kids and Marine Boomer Dad see a box of something outside, and I'm like, are those bombs?
Yeah, they're getting like a one ship and stuff on the big ship.
Yeah, then we see like missiles.
Yeah, they're getting more bombs, and everyone's like, uh-oh.
Boomer Dad is like mad that they're arming the ship.
Boomer Dad doesn't make sense because maybe he wasn't actually in the Marines. Maybe he's lying about that. Because he's like not understanding anything.
He's like, why are you arming the ship? Like, shouldn't he be stoked that they're arming the ship?
He wants his son to get combat training.
And Maddie's dad comes to explain that they need to have more supplies ready if they do get sent into battle. Just like stay calm and take care of the kids, okay? And then we see more planes taking off. Like, there's so much military filler shots. Like, I swear. Maddie goes to talk to her dad. They're gonna get to San Diego a day early. But like he said, it's quiet.
They're keeping confidential.
Yeah, like they're not telling people where they're going, so no one's gonna be there.
As far as they know, this is like an act of war against them, and they need to like protect, their extremely expensive, productive, and important aircraft carriers. Even though this one's going to go out of commission in 2 years.
Yeah, so they're not just gonna broadcast to parts all over the country like, hey, your kids are gonna be here in San Diego. So he's basically saying like no one's gonna be there to meet you. And Maddie's like, that's okay. And then he says, I'm going out right away again. And Maddie says, but you promised you would come home. And the dad says, this is my crew. Like, I need to stay. No one expected this to happen. I have a lot of people counting on me.
I feel like Maddie's missing the point of he was never going to come home right away.
I know, maybe he was.
He said, I'm not going to re-up, which means he's not signing on for more years. But like, he still has to finish out his term.
Yeah.
So,
which, although he did say earlier, like, I'll be home for a couple days and we can talk about it then. So maybe he was going to
come home for like a
week, a month, whatever.
Yeah,
but she's like, no, you should come home for good. So maybe this is like the end. It was going to be the end of a term or something. But whatever. He says, I am going to be home, but like for right now, I do my duty. So he's like, I'm going to see this through, like take care until we're sure that we're not at war right now. And then I will keep my promise and come home for good. So then Boomer, Marine Dad, and Chef's son ask for news. And Maddie's dad says, I'm sorry, but your brother / uncle is confirmed missing.
The way that he says it is such like a game show host saying, I'm sorry. You won $1 million.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry to break this to you. And I swear, I thought he was going to say, but he's alive.
It really sounds like he's going to do a different one, which obviously makes no sense in the context. And it doesn't happen, but it really sounds like it.
Or like a stupid doctor that's like, hate to break this to you, but you're perfectly healthy. Like it's just stupid. But no, he says he's missing. And then Marine Dad says, thank you.
He finally doesn't be mean. He's just like, oh.
Thank you. And then he hugs his son. And then Boomer Marine Dad is out on the deck looking out to the ocean all sad. And Maddie approaches him and she says, I'm sorry about your brother. And he's like, yeah, he was my little brother. He was in the Marines, but he was always going to be my little brother. And the Pentagon was supposed to be the safest place on Earth, and makes you wonder what it'll be like when we get back there. And hey, can you apologize to your dad for me? I was kind of
and he realizes it's a kid's movie and can't say asshole.
Stupid motherfucker. He's a good man. He's a good officer. He does a job a lot of people, or not a lot of people would do. A lot of sacrifice. We tend to forget about people like that until we meet them. It makes me feel a little safer knowing there's men like him out there keeping an eye on things.
I really hope no one makes him go into an early retirement.
I love the military, and I'm so glad there are people in the military.
God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I won't forget the men who died, who laid their lives for me.
I love the lyrics. I thought it was who gave that right to me.
I thought it was laid their lives.
We're looking it up.
Put your bets in now.
Proud to be an American. At least
it could easily be both of them. Like, both work.
Lyrics. Okay. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me.
Dang.
I was right, and it looks like it's like that in every chorus. So.
Gotcha.
I'll
proudly stand tall.
Guess I'm more of a proud American than you are.
What does that say about you?
That I'm an American. All right. And then Maddie hugs him. And that's the end of the scene. So here comes more guilt of like, no, your dad should be in the Navy. Grace now is watching footage of a plane landing and she's like rewinding it and watching it over and over.
She's trying to figure out like something going wrong with the plane.
No.
It's really not explained. It's a weird clip to be shown.
Yeah. And then Tina goes, Grace, have you ever been shot at?
Basically, this whole moment is Tina's like innocence breaking about the military being, not fun.
Where like her whole perspective on it so far has been like, you get to fly cool planes around, and that's pretty much been it because they haven't been at war for the time that like Tina's been around and Grace has been in the Air Force.
Our life has been basically all war.
Yeah. And Grace says, no, I've never been shot at. And Grace says, you have to realize that we are the first line of defense. And a lot of time we don't know what we're flying into. And it's really scary, but you have to do your duty. This is just another example of like, hey, if you're going to be in the military, you got to be like serious about it. It's no Cadet Kelly.
Cadet Kelly's like, I'm going to bring my blankie.
I'm going to bring my rainbow blankie. And then they say, I'm going to stomp on your rainbow blankie.
Maggot.
You maggot. So then Maddie's sitting out by the water and she's sketching her dad, looking like a real American hero. There's like a flag and probably an eagle. I don't remember. And more inspiring music plays. And then she goes inside to find her dad to like give him the drawing. And the lieutenant sees her and goes like, hey, it's not a good time. Like he's really in the thick of it. It wasn't easy, but every tiger who can't get home should be covered. So he's like basically just making arrangements for everyone when they land. And he goes, only your dad could pull this off. So more guilt that, hey, your dad is a real special guy and he belongs in the military.
Every person's just like, don't do this. Don't do
And Maddie's like, oh, I just want to give him something, but like, I'll give it to him later. In the kitchen, Chef's son makes more food and the kids come to see him. And he's like, I made fresh cupcakes. And Maddie's like, I'm sorry about your uncle. And he's like, thanks. It helps keep busy. And then Anthony starts drumming along to the mixer. So the mixer is like making frosting. And it's,
this scene apparently takes 3 months to clean. And then Anthony goes, oh, I like that beat. I'm going to use my drumsticks that still exist. Like, so much longer into the movie.
Then Chef's son, remember his name's Danny? Yeah. He like joins in and they start drumming back and forth.
And Maddie's like, na 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 na
na na. Take a look around. Who would have thought we'd all be here?
9/11 happened. It put us all so much fear.
No, the original lyrics actually work. It's, and the future is unclear. It still works. Come on, turn up the music. Maddie at first is like, what the hell's going on? But then everyone drums in and Maddie's like, what the heck? I'll drum too. And they really have their like working out.
It's a full jam session. They're all loving it.
Except here's the thing. It like sounds like a cohesive beat. And it definitely would not in real life. It would just sound like incoherent banging. Like I doubt all these people actually could keep rhythm with each other in an impromptu hot banging session. And I guess like cupcakes got everywhere because it took 3 months to clean it up. Were they just finding frosting in little nooks and crannies and went, God damn it, how long has it been since that happened? 2 months? This is taking 2 months to clean. And then another month goes by. Anyway, after they're done, Maddie says, wow, this feels weird. We haven't laughed in since. Felt good, didn't it?
It's been 2 days.
Like, I think she realized it hadn't been that long, but it feels like it's been a long time.
So it completely makes sense. But the way that it's said, it's just like
a day?
We haven't laughed since 30 hours ago.
Maddie says there's got to be something like everyone can do.
Something that'll make us all feel American.
So black screen, September 13th, 2001, day 5, off the coast of San Diego.
So, yep, they spent the whole day at sea, but they didn't mention it.
Yeah. Maddie goes and asks the captain to add something back to the schedule. Cut to everyone unfurling the flag. Everybody loves it. It's a huge ass flag. And then people, and like mainly kids, play under the flag. Like one of those big parachutes that you have in gym class as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the parachute day. Don't you just love
Parachutes
day?
are awesome.
It was
Why don't
so
we get a
fun.
big parachute?
We need like a lot more friends, I think, to make, or at least just a bunch of people there to play
Imagine
with the parachute.
bingo in the parachute.
We need a whole like class size of people to play with the parachute. Did you play the one where you were like there was sharks under it? So it's just kids crawling around and other kids sitting with the parachute over their lap, like do I'm just enjoying the beach, and then the sharks start to pull their legs under the parachute, and there's lifeguards on the outside that have to grab your arms and try to save you, and it was so much fun.
That was your favorite gym day?
Yeah, parachute
my
day?
favorite day was capture the football.
Capture the football, not capture the cone?
Capture the cone?
We didn't have flags, we did capture the cone.
We did capture the football where you could throw the football over the line. As long as your team catched it, it would continue to move.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty good. It's like a fun little addition. There was like 5 footballs you had to get.
Oh. Yeah, we did capture the cone, but it was one of those big, tall cones.
This is what everyone comes to the podcast for.
And then there's like the hula hoops, and if you make it to the other side in the hula hoop, you're safe and they can't tag you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but if you do get tagged, they're on the other side, and your teammate has to go and like hold your hand and bring you back. Capture the cone was fun. All right. So yeah, they do the flag, and Maddie's dad is proud of her. You can tell.
He's like, "Wow, you really found something to make everyone feel good and American."
And I'm proud to be American. So then they get ready to dock, and Maddie's dad gives him some inspiring words and tells him.
It makes sense that he is second in command, but like first in command.
Yeah, why not the captain?
Because they want the dad to do it.
It really should be the captain. But he says, "You've all been so brave, and you did a fine job unfurling the flag this morning." Why is it called unfurling?
That is the word.
It's a weird word.
It's a weird word, but it is the right word.
He said, "As you leave, know that we're proud of you." And then they get to San Diego, and Boomer Marine dad tells his son that he could have leave. Like he could leave the military for a bit, because of everything that's happened. But the son's like, "Nah, I'm gonna stay."
Sailors gotta eat.
Yeah, the dad says he's proud of his son, and sailors gotta eat, right? So now he's like,
that means a lot because it's a boomer parent.
Yeah, he's okay with his dad being cook on a Navy ship. His son
being a cook.
Yeah. Tigers are getting off the boat. Maddie says goodbye to Tina and Anthony. And they all exchange phone numbers, so they'll keep in touch.
Even though they all move and will miss each other's phone numbers.
Yeah, and then Joey says goodbye to his mom, and he's like, "Do we have a little bit of time?" And she's like, "Yeah, what do you want to do?" He goes, "Can we get ice cream?"
Joey's just not a character in this film.
So true. And then Anthony says goodbye to his brother and is like, "Thanks." And that's like it.
That's it. That's the only resolution we get. The only other time the brother was on screen was him yelling at him.
Also, okay, the brother the whole time, his uniform looks like a sailor uniform you get at a Halloween store.
There are uniforms that look like that. I'm pretty sure.
Are there really? I know nothing about the Navy, but it looks kind of silly to me.
If you're in the Navy, make fun of Kelsey.
You go ahead. It's okay.
She can take it.
I'll make fun of your little outfit. And yeah, sorry. Tina then says goodbye to Grace, and they salute. But Grace has to correct the salute. She wasn't doing it right. And then they say goodbye. And then, okay, this is actually our favorite part. Maddie,
this is something We do not remember how good this is. This really at the 3 minutes to go in the movie.
Literally.
This is we rewound and watched this like 5 times
So
because it's
silly.
just one line, and we're not going to do it justice here.
No.
It's so good though.
So Maddie finally gives her dad the drawing that she made of him, looking very heroic.
Yep.
It's good drawing.
She may have been drawing like a based on his picture or something, but like it's a good drawing. It's well made.
Yeah.
It makes the next line even worse.
So she hands it to her dad and he goes, "Oh, hey, that's great. That's really great. You know, you're kind of making me look pretty dashing."
And that's and then he continues on, when I get home, we'll have it framed. And he like hands it back to her.
Hands it back like he like she's 3 and
We're-
scribbled on paper.
And we're like, we have to hang this on the refrigerator. It's number one, it's a nice drawing.
Nice drawing. He's like, "Oh wow, thanks."
The movie is trying to get us to act like he's saying this heartfully, but it sounds so much like he hates it.
So awkward. Yeah, it really sounds like he hates it. And the movie should be like he loves it.
Yeah. But my favorite part of the line, you know, you're kind of making me look pretty dashing. He has 2 qualifiers in there to like calm it down. It's you're kind of making me look
Pretty dashing.
Like he can't stomach even like just softening it once. He can't say you're making me look pretty dashing or you're kind of making me look dashing. No, it's you're kind of making me look pretty dashing.
And the
like
fact
your painting sucks. Your drawing is awful, but you're my daughter, so I have to say it's okay. But don't keep it with me. Go home.
Yeah, and the fact that he says that's great. That's really great.
It's so bad.
Okay. So says when I get home we'll have it framed, and then Maddie says, "What if we go to war or something? Everything is so different now." And the dad says, "Don't worry, I remember what we talked about." Like the whole time the vibe is like, "Don't worry, I'll still come home even though I'll resent you for it.
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life, I'll resent you." Like he never says outright that I do still want to stay.
Yeah,
but
it feels
he really you can feel it.
Well, I want to be in the military.
I think he's a very good actor, and
I think it's bad direction. Is what I'm
Hayden
gonna
is
say.
a pretty good actress.
I feel like she did actually quite good in this movie.
She does good, and he is not giving it back.
I feel like he's got enough credits in his portfolio that I'm just not gonna say he's bad.
I don't think he cared about this project.
I don't think he cared about it. I don't think the direction was good.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie is a badly directed movie, if just for not figuring out the cinematography issues.
Yeah. So then Maddie says, "Maybe I was wrong. I want you home, but I don't want you to quit. I think you should keep doing what you're doing. I'll be okay. Are you sure you're gonna be okay?" "Yeah. I love you." Does he say that? Does he go, eh? That's what I wrote.
Apparently, then.
And then they hug, and then he goes, "Stop going so fast. I won't recognize you next time." And then he leaves. And I wrote, like, that's such a weird goodbye.
That is a weird goodbye.
Like, I feel like it should have way more heart than that instead of like a little playful, haha, stop growing on me. Like 9/11 just happened.
Yeah, I feel like you need to be like, tell your mom I love her.
Yeah, or like, "I promise I'll see you soon. Like, I love you," whatever. And he does say I love you, but like it
weird.
feels weird. Maybe he's just an awkward guy.
Maybe that's the character. That's why he goes to the Navy. That's the only love he really has.
Yeah. And then a random guy goes, "So you're a brat, huh?" And then she salutes her dad and goes, "Yeah, I'm a brat."
Aww.
And then we get another wide shot of the flag unfurled on the ship.
Yep. And that's the
end.
movie.
And then there's an original song in the credit that Hayden, what's her last name? The main character, she sings it.
Mm-hmm. And it's on a CD Kelsey owns.
Yeah, the DCOM CD. Is it Ears Ears?
No, I think it's the second one.
The other one?
The volume 2 one, even though they're They're different technically.
Yeah. And that's the movie. That's Tiger Cruise.
What was your thoughts?
It's hard to say. It's the 9/11
I'm
DCOM. What
surprised
is
we've
there to
talked
say?
this long about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know we went on tangents and stuff, but it's a hard movie to talk about. I still fully believe this movie would have been better if it was worse, because then we could make fun of it more.
Yeah, you can't really make fun of it that well, other than the green screen, but you can't really show that in a podcast.
And I also believe that this movie, there's a good movie somewhere in here. Is it worth digging through to try and like make that movie? I don't know. But there is a genuine like plot intrigue concept of there's a good plot somewhere within this concept. I think this does a bad job at going through
Yeah.
it.
I think I don't want to say this movie shouldn't exist. I think this movie shouldn't be a DCOM.
It should not be a DCOM.
DCOM's out here trying to change the world.
And it's like, if you're not zombies, what are you?
Zombies did it best, am I right?
No. Our house ranked
It's
this
so low.
104 out of the 114,
It
15
is-
that we ranked.
It is 2 spots above Cadet Kelly.
Yes, because most of those are bad.
You
I might have Cadet Kelly above it now that I'm thinking about it, but I had it after this at 98.
Yep, I have it at 93, so it's like basically the same.
Yeah, we both had it a little bit better than the house did, but
Yeah.
well, we're all saying this is a bad movie, and I would agree with that. I do think the line of, well, you're kind of making me look pretty dashing, the uncovering of that really does like give it something now
Yeah.
that I think it was missing that we tried to co-op into.
Yeah, I have it in low D tier.
I'm guessing I have it enough.
It's like literally the second last in D tier, so it's real close to F.
Are you thinking that's a good spot?
I think that's a good spot.
I had it on the top of my F tier.
So we're like basically the same kind of thought. It's either low D or high F.
Yeah. So
that's Tiger Cruise.
Tiger Cruise.
We never have to talk about it again.
Yeah. Thank you for watching.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for listening to our
all of the way through
our 9/11 special episode.
Unless do anyone skip to just figure out, oh, what's the next episode?
Oh my gosh.
Because we're going to talk about what the next episode is.
Should we mention our friend Beans was born on September 11th, not 2001, but that's his birthday. Real unfortunate birthday, but like, happy birthday, Beans. We talked about your birthday.
Happy birthday. I don't think you're listening to this, but you were on the podcast twice.
Twice.
And it's pretty fun to be with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. It's time to spin the wheel. What movie do you think it's gonna be?
Up and Away.
I forgot about that.
I also forget
You
about
literally said it, and I was like, "That's not real. It's not a real movie." It is. I'm gonna say Get a Clue.
Gotcha.
Spinning. No way. Y'all thought you saw the end of Anthony's dad, but you haven't. It's time for Life is Rough.
That's very funny. We talked about it this. Cool.
Life is Rough, baby.
Life is Rough is one we watched very early in our marathon.
Yeah, I watched this one as a kid.
I watched it as a kid too. It's one we both remember like well from our childhoods, which is interesting. It's not overall remembered that much, which kind of surprised me. I felt like that was one that was more popular, but
I guess it wasn't. Well, I liked it enough as a kid, and I guess as an adult.
So yeah, Life is Rough. I feel like we're gonna have thoughts on that movie. We're gonna be able to talk a good bit about that.
And to be clear, it's rough, RUFF, like a dog.
Yes, because it is a dog movie.
It's a dog movie. There's not too many dog DCOMs.
There's like 3.
We already covered one. It was Hounded.
Frenemies.
Oh, you're right. He was frenemies with his dog.
You lucky dog.
Yeah. Is that it?
Life is Rough.
Well, yeah, that's a given. I think that's it.
And there's a lot of cat movies.
Really?
Cheetah Girls.
Okay.
Cheetah Girls 2.
There's a dog in Cheetah Girls, actually.
Yeah.
Dog in a hole, that's bad.
Dog in a hole, that's bad. Thank you for listening. Follow us on TikTok, the DCOM Duo. Email us, thedcomduo@gmail.com. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music /podcast. I don't know if it's called Apple Podcasts or Apple Music.
It's Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts. If you leave us a message on any of those sites, we'll find it someday, hopefully, and we can talk about it. Join us for Life's Rough. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Scenes from our next episode.
Whoa, I'm on a skateboard and this is lasting for like an hour.
I'm a dog.
Why did they show the sad puppy in a box for like a minute?
Oh my god, that like really made me sad as a kid.
What? That's the beginning of the movie.
Dog has childhood trauma and is afraid of thunderstorms.
Man, I really want that comic book. I'm gonna do the most logical thing. Adopt a dog off the street, teach it how to win an obedience like relay contest.
And like agility
and
contest.
That's gonna get me enough money, more than the cost of, upkeeping a dog.
Yeah.
To get this comic book.
What? Also, they fully destroy the agility course and still qualify. What is this movie?